this program. I think that most of you come from social studies classes, ESL bilingual classes, and some other students who are helping, like our crew here, stage crew, that always helps and makes sure that everything is okay in the school. The reason why you came here is because we have this very special program. The program is called Reaching Our Dreams, and you know how much we all dream and how much we want to reach our dreams, and how many times through our lives, for you in high school, there are days when you say, forget it. I know that I am not going to reach my dream. I want to be a doctor, but you know what? Who knows? You know, so many things in my life. I want to be an engineer. I want to be a teacher. It's not going to happen. But you know what? Everything is out there for you, and you can have it because you're young. It's a lot easier for you to become an engineer or a doctor than it is for me. Number one, you're so young. You have such a life ahead of you that you can do anything you want to do. So this is why we want to have programs for you. We want you to listen to people who have made it. People who, like me, where you are sitting down right now in a school. In my case, I was sitting in a classroom and I didn't speak English. Now, could you imagine you're sitting there, you don't speak English, and you think you're going to be principal of a school a few years later? I don't think so. But you know what? It happens, and there are ways that you can make those things happen. That's why we want to have these programs for you, so that people talk to you, and you realize that your dreams can come true. The program is sponsored and presented by an agency called Save Latin America, Inc. Now, everyone here knows about Latin America because many of you come from Latin America. Others have Spanish classes that talk about Latin America. But for those of you who have never heard of Latin America, that's everything that is south of North America. And that starts with Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic. They celebrated their independence yesterday. Also Mexico, Colombia, Salvador, Guatemala, all those Spanish-speaking countries, that's Latin America. I'm going to present to you Mr. Johnny Torres, and he is the director of Save Latin America. With him, he has some other members of our community that he will introduce to you. Some of them were students here at Ferris High School, but I will let Mr. Johnny Torres be the one who talks to you about that. Thank you for your attention, and I will leave you with Mr. Johnny Torres.
Thank you, Mrs. Ray. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. It's very early in the morning. I'm sure you did have breakfast. You didn't have breakfast? Well, despite the fact that you didn't have any breakfast, let me tell you what I'm perceiving, what I'm in front of you. I perceive a very, very high level of energy because of your youth. However, when you answer to my question of how are you, I did not get the same level of energy. So the question is, how are you today? So we get in there. Yes, some of you did have your Cheerios. How are you today? Great! That's right. You feel very well today. You feel very good because you're about to hear a terrific program. The program is called Reaching Our Dreams, as your principal told you. This program is sponsored by Save Latin America, Inc. Save Latin America, Inc. is a civic organization, and the mission of that organization is to provide better access of information to Hispanics about the many opportunities, many services and growth opportunities that exist in these countries. And you know what? There are many opportunities for all of you, for all of us. The opportunity is there for you in order for you to take advantage of them. You have to be, number one, mentally ready. And then you have to be well educated. And then you have to work to take advantage of those opportunities. So 3 things: mentally ready, well educated, and ready to work hard in order for you to become the principal of the school tomorrow, in order for you to be the freeholder of tomorrow, in order for you to be the architect, the teacher, the mayor of any city. Yes, the opportunities are there. So Save Latin America brings these programs simply because we are concerned with education also. And you know what? Our Hispanic kids are dropping out of school in the state of New Jersey at a rate of 30%. And we thought that we get together with our leadership and help you understand that if you have no education, most of the opportunities that are there, you're not going to be able to reach them. And then you all have dreams. How many of you here have dreams? Let me see those hands. Terrific, terrific. We should all have dreams, understanding that you having a dream is not enough. Now you have to work hard to make your dreams come true. Now, you're going to hear 3 prominent Puerto Ricans talk to you today about how they made it. And you know what? One of them, not too long ago, was sitting exactly where you're sitting today. She graduated from this high school. Now, once their job here today is to speak to you about themselves. Your job is to listen, and listen carefully. You know why? Because you teachers are going to ask you to write an essay based on the presentations or your perception of the presentations. And you know what? That's not very good news for you, because you don't need to write another essay. You already have enough homework, right? Right. Now let me tell you something else. Out of this group comes the month of June. 3 of you are going to be presented with a plaque, invited to dinner with you parents and you teachers, and we're going to have a grand night dedicated to 3 of you. So all you have to do is write an essay, put your heart in it, and make sure that you're going to win, that you're going to be one of the best 3. So the question now is, where are the 3 winners? 1, 2. Terrific. Very good. Very good. You know, this is what you need in life. You have to project yourself, and you have to project yourself always as a winner. And you know why? Because you have it within you to be a winner no matter what it is that you want to do in life. Anything that you want to do in life, you can accomplish. So the question again is, where are the 3 people that comes the month of June are going to be invited by me, and the 3 speakers here today are going to be there that night handling 3 plaques to 3 of you. Where are the hands? That's it. Very good. Congratulations. Now, very good. Now, I'd like to present the first speaker, a very hardworking young man. This young man, he's not saying thank you. I'm waiting for it, but it doesn't come out. What are you going to do? But this young man is involved in politics. He was once a member of the Board of Education, and today he is a city councilman. What is a city councilman? But I don't want to steal his slide, but a city councilman is a person that is elected by a certain district in town, and his job, among other things, is to pass legislation to benefit the public. Ladies and gentlemen, let's receive with a big hand round of applause Mariano Vega, Councilman Mariano Vega.
Buenos días. ¿Están despiertos, verdad? Bueno, vamos a hablar inglés. ¿Cuántos no hablan inglés muy bien? Okay. All right. Let's. I'm going to speak in English, and I'm going to share with you some of my experiences. I mean, you heard today, Johnny was talking about the fact that I'm a councilman. But you know, life did not start there. Rather, life for me started when I was born in Puerto Rico, in the rainforest, en las montañas de Naguabo, en Fajardo. When my parents decided to come to the United States around 1950, because they had dreams as well. And their dreams were to create a better life for their children, since the economy of Puerto Rico was changing from a farming society to perhaps a manufacturing society and development of tourism. Well, you know, my father came to this country as a farmer. He worked the farms in Puerto Rico, and he worked the farms in Florida, worked the farms in South Jersey through Connecticut. And my mother stayed home in Puerto Rico with 3 children, 3 boys. 2 years later, my mother came here to this country without my father, looking for a job and starting to work in a factory in the sewing garment industry. Within a few months, perhaps like many of you, my mother saved enough money and sent money back to Puerto Rico to bring my father here to live with us. And we lived like some of my friends lived. They lived in a house with someone else until they had enough money to be able to get their own apartment. You know, I arrived in 1952, September 5th. I remember it as if it was yesterday. I was only 3 years old. You know, what was the lesson that I learned when I got here? I only spoke Spanish. Within a year and a half time, by the time I was in kindergarten, I had to learn English quickly or otherwise I would not survive. I say to you as well, there's an advantage to learning English in this country. But there's also another lesson to be learned. My daughter today is a senior at McNair Academic High School just down the street. She speaks 5 languages. Because 1 language is not enough. So I speak Spanish and I speak English. And I also speak computers. That's also a language. It's a universal language that you may want to take advantage of. I'm learning a little bit of Portuguese right now from my travels. So there's a distinct advantage that we have today, and that's to learn about our environment all around us. Because when we arrived in this country in 1952, I lived on Henderson Street, that today we call Manila. We call Luis Munoz Marin Boulevard. And in that cold water flat, I was able to learn what the rest of America was like. The fact that the streets are not paved with gold as everyone thinks, but this is a place where you can create a home and create opportunities for yourself as my parents created. We soon moved. I went to public school number 2, a very small school that existed in our city, probably one of our best elementary schools at the time. We moved to just down the street, probably the same blocks you walk down when you get here on Mercer Street. I still live there today. And I went to number 9 school, the old number 9 school, and I went to the old Ferris. I graduated in the class of 68. Damn, Sam, I must be old. Well, the band just referred to me as a young man, so I'll take that as a compliment. And I have to tell you that when I went to the old Ferris, the last graduating class of Ferris, this was being built. And some of the speakers you're going to hear after me have also gone to Ferris, so that you can see people and what they went through life to make these things happen. Now, there was a lesson that I learned during the late 60s. And a lot of my friends were dying of drugs, of overdose, and a lot of the things that you may hear today with crack and cocaine, those things existed during my term. But I was able to learn that because of my church connection, because I went to church and I developed a certain sense of values, and I was able to stay clean, I was able to dream ahead. I was able to dream ahead about what life would be like if I went to college. And while I was at Ferris High School, I got involved in a program called Upward Bound. Does that program still exist here today? I was in that first class of Upward Bound in the class of 1966, where I had an opportunity to go to Montclair State College during the summer of 66 and 67 to get a life and consider the possibility of going to college. I was considering to be the first one in my family to ever go to college, because you have to realize that my parents only went to 2nd and 3rd grade themselves. But they always read the Bible and the newspaper. And the Bible and the newspaper is what I read today to keep me focused on what I want for myself, for my family, and for what I want to share with my community. When I was in high school, I got selected in Boy State. Do we still have that here today? Well, I was one of those representatives from this high school to go to Boy State and represent Jersey City schools down there. I knew that if I were to get ahead and I were not to be involved in the mix of drugs that existed during this time, that I needed to go away to college. I have 2 brothers. I have a brother that's Hector Vega. He was one of the first vice principals of this school. He was the author of the curriculum, Puerto Rican History and Culture, in this school. Today he has left the teaching, and now he's a minister, and he serves the people of God in New York City. I have another brother, Fred Vega, who used to be a guidance counselor at Jersey City State. Now he works as a guidance counselor with international students at Kane College. All 3 of us went out to get a master's degree in a variety of areas and are doing different things. But you know, there's a lesson to be learned in the process. And that's to look at what is it that you like and develop that. Find out where you want to go and stay focused. Work on that dream day in and day out. When people want to become teachers, they talk about teaching. They practice the craft of teaching and stay focused on the goals that you have ahead of us. When I was a young kid, I experienced a lot of discrimination. I need to tell you that because that was the reality. When I was growing up in these neighborhoods just around the corner and down the block, I realized that the dominant group in our society at the time were Irish and Italians. And as a young Hispanic, one of very few, we felt the pressure. I recall in this auditorium in the old Ferris High School, we would sing When Irish Eyes Are Smiling, celebrating St. Patty's Day. But when it came to celebrating Puerto Rican Heritage Day, we would never celebrate that. We would never celebrate Dominican Heritage Day like we did yesterday. We would never celebrate some of the Indian festivals that we would have, some of the Korean festivals that we would have, some of the Greek festivals that we would have. We would never celebrate diversity. We're celebrating that now. We're acknowledging your importance and what your contributions are to our society. I feel better for that, and I hope you do as well. Yesterday I was in City Hall raising the Dominican flag on the heritage of the 157th anniversary of the independence of the Dominican Republic. Now, these things are important because it validates who we are, it acknowledges our history. Now we have Martin Luther King Day, celebrating the great American, the man that had a dream to dream beyond the racism that we have in America and think of a better life for all of us. I need to tell you that the organization that's sponsoring this event is called to Save Latin America. And I was honored by them some years ago, and in my speech I said to them that in order to save Latin America, you must serve Latin America. You must serve the rest of society with those skills and services that you're uniquely endowed to have, and share that with other people. Because you see, when I went away to college at Montclair State College, I developed an interest in skiing. And I developed a ski club there. And just this past month, I brought in about 35 kids from Brazil to teach them how to ski in upstate New York for about 5 days. Because last summer, when we went to Brazil to teach our kids how to play Brazilian-style soccer, they taught us some of their skills, and I was willing to teach them some of our skills. So it's always a sense of what can I give back to my community to make my community understand who we are, what are our values, and what are important to us to make people better human beings. I worked at Montclair State College, today it's a university, and I was an assistant director of admissions. And my job was to give opportunities to minority students that were not given that opportunity because of who they were in their class and society. And we had more Hispanic students going there than any other college within the state system at that time. I also worked in Washington, D.C. for about a year with President Carter and the Aspira Rockefeller Foundation. I was an educational policy fellow. What did I learn from that experience? I learned that unless you're in it, you're not counted as part of that discussion. So you need to be everywhere where there's action and major decisions that are being made that's going to affect you, your parents, your grandparents, and the entire community ahead of you. You need to be involved. You need to give something back to the community that has been so welcoming to you. If life has not been good for you, get over it and make something happen for those behind you. That's what I learned from that process. I also remember working at the University of Medicine and Dentistry of New Jersey. My job was to recruit minority students that wanted to be doctors. They wanted to be dentists. They wanted to be people that worked in the health profession. And I got to tell you a story. I have a friend of mine that graduated from Ferris. In fact, he's my cousin. He lived in Florida and came to visit me in Jersey City. And when he came to visit me in Jersey City, he was very ill. He suffered from liver disease. He must have caught something, hepatitis of some kind, and he was literally dying in front of me. In fact, he passed out in front of me. I took him to a hospital in St. Francis, and they determined that he needed more care than what they had to offer. So I said, I could not stand here and let my cousin die. I immediately took him and made arrangements for an ambulance to deliver him to the University Hospital in Newark. The University Hospital in Newark is the leading institution in the Northeast for liver transplants, because a lot of accidents happen on the highway, a lot of people get shot, a lot of people get stabbed, and there's always available livers that people want to donate. When I got there, I meet this Afro-American doctor, and I looked at him and I says, I know you. He goes, Vega? And I say, Andrew? This was a doctor that I gave admissions to 15 years ago when I worked at the University of Medicine and Dentistry, who was about to perform surgery on my cousin. I felt like a blessed man that I had done some good in my community, that I had contributed to making sure that the talent that exists in our community would come and study medicine. And you know what happened? That individual performed a liver transplant on my cousin. My cousin is alive today, and he was able to help me out when the Brazilians came here, because now he works for American Express here in Jersey City. Those are the things that I have learned during my course as a citizen of this state, of this nation, that we have a special responsibility to pursue our dreams, do the things that we want to do for ourselves, but as we move forward, make sure that we bring other people with us. Today, I'm a councilman of this area of Jersey City, the waterfront, the most thriving part of the entire state of New Jersey. A minority, a Hispanic male, a Puerto Rican male. What does that mean to us? What are the lessons to be derived? It means that the prosperity that we see here in this waterfront needs to reach every one of you, so that Ferris High School, that has a financial magnet, can get as many students as it needs in jobs that are over there, if that's what they want to do. If you want to pursue higher education, that those doors are open for you to pursue those higher education dreams that we all have, so that we can be proud of who we are and make our parents proud of the sacrifices that they made to bring us here and raise us here in Jersey City. Those are the lessons that I have learned. You know, one of the things that I realize is that we perhaps do not dream big enough. And why not dream big enough? What if by chance those dreams come to be true? What if by chance my dream of wanting to be mayor of this city comes true someday? And that I'm working towards someday, so that I can bring behind me additional opportunities for more people. I'm glad that those speakers that are behind me are women, successful women in our society, because men have taken on a disproportionate number of leadership roles in our society, and women need to go and catch up. So I'm glad that those speakers that are coming behind me are women, and they're friends of mine that have succeeded in spite of all the barriers that are ahead of them. You see, I look at a vision and I say, yes, I can. And I look at you and I say, what's the difference between me and you? Probably about 30 years. That's about it. I'm a little heavier, I have less hair. But you remind me of me. When I was a kid your age, I was thinking, what am I going to do? You know what my guidance counselor said to me? You know, maybe you should learn to be a butcher. And you know what? I was a damn good butcher. I was a butcher for 3 years. I did that well. But then in doing that, I realized that I had more capacity than that. I pursued the option, just in case I had something in me. I pursued higher education. And I haven't stopped learning today, because I realize that education is a lifelong pursuit. You don't stop learning, you continuously go to school. Your teachers, in order for them to be as good as they are, they always go back to school to learn more. And I challenge all of you, look within you and see what is the difference between you and I. I think it's about age, it's about dreams, and I've had a chance to practice what I'm doing now, that you'll have an opportunity to practice. I always say to my kids, don't do as I say, watch what I do instead. If I can inspire my children to succeed in life and get ahead, I want to show them by example. Not because I tell them to do it, but because they realize it's the right thing. And as they go through life, make sure that you make your contribution to society so that those behind you have an easier opportunity to succeed. God bless all of you.
You reminded me, Councilman, of the words of Rudyard Kipling. There is a destiny that makes us brothers. No one goes by alone. Whatever you send into the lives of others comes back to our own. So every time you do good for somebody, sooner or later, it's going to come back to you. Now, the councilmen were talking about two ladies that are going to be speaking next. Two ladies that frankly make us proud of being Puerto Ricans and being Hispanics. How many Puerto Ricans are in this room? Hey, that's very good. That's very good. This young lady, this attractive and elegant young lady that you're going to hear next from, sat in one of these chairs some time ago. Today she is talking to you as a freeholder. Oh, you want Sonia first? Oh. Well, yeah, you got it right. I have Sonia second. Okay, okay. Well, we changed positions, but we're still talking about a young, very attractive, very elegant Puerto Rican woman, Sonia Araujo, who's a member of the Board of Education. Let's give Sonia a big hand.
Good morning. Buenos días. You know, I stand before you here, and do you know how many times I quit high school? Oh, I quit school twice. I quit school one time when I was very young in kindergarten. I really did. Because I used to talk a lot, and the teachers would yell at me. Porque yo hablaba muchísimo y me gritaban las maestras. So one day, I got up from my classroom, got my coat, and I left. And I was 5 years old. And I used to live in New York on 94th Street, and this woman found me and asked me where I was going. And she was a friend of my mother's, and I said I was going home. And I was on 110th Street in New York, and I lived on 94th. So my mother said, kept me home, and didn't send me back to school until the next year, and I was 6. So I started school at 6 instead of 5. So I was born in Puerto Rico, and I came here when I was a year old. I've been here in Jersey City since I was 10. Pero vine de Puerto Rico desde que I'm trying to go back and forth because I know some of you understand English and you don't, and some of you don't. Yo nací en Puerto Rico, vine aquí de un año en Puerto Rico, de the United States. And in Jersey City, I've been here since I was 10. When I lived in New York, I lived with my sisters, which was 2 sisters, myself, and my mother. My mother used to work in a factory. She earned $50 a day, and that was a lot of money. We lived in a room, one room, and I remember that the kitchen, it was a long hallway, and the kitchen was in the middle, the bathrooms were outside, and everybody in that floor had to cook their meals in that one kitchen and use that one bathroom. So when you wanted to make dinner, you had to take turns. Not everybody can use the kitchen at one time. My mother paid $20 a week for that one room. And I remember that when we used to move, my mother was one of those people que le gustaba un apartamento and she would like an apartment and she would move us. There were furnished rooms. A lot of the time, when we had to move, my mother would come in the morning in the apartment and spray the mattress. Why? For la chincha. Yeah. Habían chincha. Bugs. Bed bugs. We had to spray the mattress because the bed bugs would be all over us at night. Y así vivíamos. We used to live in apartments, furnished rooms, with one kitchen, con una cocina para todo el mundo en el piso, para un baño para todo el mundo usar. Y los madres que estaban durmiendo tenían chincha. Y cuando uno se acostaba, algunas veces, la chincha te la mordían a uno de noche. I'm sorry, I just get emotional about this. All right. I was saying that at night, the bugs would literally bite us because there were just so many bugs in the bed, and they would crawl all over us. So we had to constantly, once a week, spray the mattress. And this is how we lived in New York. Okay? So I came from a very, very poor family. And my mother would always tell us, mijita, the only thing I can give you is a good education. Don't work in a factory like me, because she didn't know how to sew. So all she can do was cut the threads from the dresses and whatever, and iron. And she would iron on her feet, standing up for 8 hours a day. And in the winter, she would still have to iron, come out in the cold weather, and she would always have a cold. And she would come home all the time very tired and tell us, mijita, the only thing I can give you is an education. Don't do like I do. And it really brings tears to my eyes because my mother was a really great influence to me. When we started living in Jersey City, I moved to Jersey City because I originally moved living in New York. And I was kind of scared moving to Jersey City. You lived in a big city and you were wondering how Jersey City was going to be. So when we moved to Jersey City, y los mudamos para aquí, para Jersey City, cuando yo tenía como 10 años, I was really, really, really depressed. I thought Jersey City was the country. I thought we were going to find pigs and cows and farms and everything. No pigs, no farms, no cows. Made friends the same day, and I went to PS 37. And I graduated from PS 37. Then I graduated and I came to Ferris High School. The old Ferris High School, which is now the academic. The second time I quit school was when I was 18 years old. I was in third year high school, and I fell in love. And I decided that I wanted to quit high school because I wanted to get married. And I was madly in love with a senior, and he was going to go to the Vietnam War, and I wanted to go with him. Not to Vietnam War, but I wanted to be married because he was going away to Texas, he was getting training, and I was madly in love, and I said, well, you know, I want to go with him because he's going to go to Delaware to the base, and I want to go. And my mother told me, mijita, don't do it. Wait until you finish high school. And I'll tell you, I didn't go to Upper Bound because my grades were C. I had a C plus, maybe. I wasn't a good student. I was a good student because I came to school and I listened, and I wasn't a bad student. I wasn't nasty. Pero hablaba, me pasaba hablando, me ponían en the auditorium. Una vez entrabas en la clase y me pusieron un chico aquí en la nariz. Yeah, because see, I was always doing something. I had always something to say. They would just put me out in the hallway. If I was chewing gum, they would stick it on my nose and put me in the hallway. I was always doing something. I had detentions. I used to stay in the auditorium. I wasn't nasty. I didn't talk back to the teachers, but I talked a lot. And I don't know, somehow I always attracted that attention, and I talked a lot. So anyway, got married, and what I ended up doing is, at 2 months after I got married, my mother passed away. And here I was, 18 years old. I was married, my mother passed away, and my husband went to Vietnam. Didn't know what to do. I had quit school. I didn't know what to do. I was lost there for a while. But I said, you know what, I'm going to go back to school. So I decided to go to Dickinson. And I got a job in the daytime, and I went to Dickinson High School at night. So I used to come out of my job and go to Dickinson. And for 1 year, I went and I finished my high school and I got my diploma. So then I looked around for a job because, I was young. I used to work a year and collect a year and work 1 year and collect 1 year. I thought this was cool. I said, okay, I can do this. But I got a job in the library and I really liked it. I enjoyed working in the library, being in the assistant. And I have to make it shorter. Anyway, being an assistant. So I decided to go to school. I went to school, went back to school. It took me 10 years to finish 4 years of college. 4 years. 10 years to finish 4 years. Because I worked in the daytime, used to go to school at night, and by that time I was a single parent. So I had to do that. I had to work, take care of my children, and go to school at night.
In Spanish? They don't understand you.
Lo que yo estaba diciendo, y lo voy a repetir ahora en español, es, para mí, como yo había dejado la escuela en el tercer año de high school, yo tuve que ir para atrás y buscar mi educación y el diploma. Lo tuve que hacer en Dickinson High School. Y lo hice de noche, trabajando de día y yendo de noche. A mí me cogió 10 años para terminar el colegio. Me cogió 10 años porque trabajaba de día y iba de noche. Y me cogió 10 años para terminar el colegio, que cuando uno va regularmente coge 4 años. So after that, I got a job in the library, wanted to be a librarian, and I got a master's degree. Okay, I got to start cutting it short. Let me just, so I got a master's degree. I am now a professional librarian. I'm the assistant director of the public libraries in Jersey City. I'm also a member of the school board. And in the school board, that is my proudest moment because I represent all of you on that school board. You know why? Because when I sit down and I tell them, let me tell you something, I want these kids to do this because I wasn't a good student. And I want to make sure you get an education because I quit high school. And if then they tell me, well, we got to get these kids out because they're always talking. I said, but I used to speak a lot too. I was always talking. They used to throw me out. And I can relate to a lot of the problems that you had because I had them. And when I sit there on that school board, yo represento a todas las personas que están aquí, todos los niños que están aquí. Y los represento porque yo he pasado por los mismos problemas que ustedes están pasando. A mí me han sacado de las clases, a mí dejé la escuela en tercer año. Yo sé lo que ustedes están pasando. Mi madre me murió cuando yo estaba bien joven. Nosotros tenemos problemas. Y yo me siento que lo puedo representar mejor porque entiendo los problemas de ustedes. Y para mí, la cosa más importante que ustedes pueden tener y que yo peleo es para ver si ustedes se quedan en las escuelas. Necesitamos que ustedes sigan estudiando. No hagan lo que yo hice, que me cogió 10 años para terminar un colegio de 4 años. Me cogió mucho tiempo. Tuve que hacer mucha arreglo con babysitters. I had to do a lot of studying. I had to do a lot of juggling with the kids and a lot of babysitters and a lot of this and going to school because I took the long way around. But whatever road you take, make sure that at least you get an education. Because if you don't have something that you can focus on, and a lot of times the only thing that got me going is that, you know what? I can feed my children by myself. I'm able to do it. I can feed my kids. And I can feed my kids because I went to school and I got a degree and I can make good money now. Otherwise, you can't do it. So whatever you do, please, quédense en la escuela. Si ustedes quieren hacer lo que no todo el mundo va a ir al colegio, porque todo el mundo no le gusta el colegio. That's it. Todo el mundo va a coger una carrera. Pero lo que si a ustedes les gustan arreglar pelo, arreglen el pelo and become a hairdresser. Si ustedes les gustan cocinar, become a chef. Hay diferentes cosas que uno puede hacer para sí mismo, para que uno pueda seguir adelante y mantener a sus hijos. I said there's a lot of things that we can do, and not everybody is college bound. I did not go to Upward Bound because I didn't have the grades. I was not selected, all right? But if you want to fix hair, become a hairdresser. If you want to cook, become a chef. If you like to sew, become a fashion designer. But do something. Do something with your life. There is nothing that gives me more joy than when I go to a board meeting and I hear you guys sing or perform or do a play or come up and get a plaque. Eso a mí me da un orgullo que es tremendo. El tiempo que yo estoy cogiendo para representar a ustedes, eso es un orgullo para mí, a verlos todos ustedes. And let me see you and stay in school, and please, if you ever need me, you know where to find me. I'm on the school board. You know where to find me, and I will help.
It's a shame that we have to cut this short because we're almost out of time, but the next lady is freeholder, is a freeholder as another legislative body at the county level. She also came to this school. Let's welcome Nidia Davila Colom. Very hard.
Thank you and good morning. Sometimes it's good to be first, sometimes it's bad to be last. I'm the last person, so I have approximately 5 minutes to speak to you. Buenos días. Buenos días. Veo ya que hay un poquito más de espíritu y creo que ese espíritu se lo dio un poco Sonia. My background is similar to that of Mariano's and that of Sonia's. My mother came from Puerto Rico in 1953 when I was a month and a half old with my father. My father decided that after I was 4 years old, he no longer wanted to live in this country, so he left my mother with 2 children. So my mother was forced, as Mariano's mother and father and as Sonia's mother, without an education, without speaking English, to go out and work in a factory. At least she knew how to sew, but she had to go and work in a factory in New York and take care of 2 children. My brother is 10 years older than I am. As soon as he finished high school and he graduated from the old Ferris, he went to work. But he made sure that his little sister was able to get what he did not get at that time. And that was to get a good education. And when I say a good education, he did go to high school, he did get a high school diploma, but was not able to go to college. He wanted to make sure that I went to college. But I want to give you a real brief story about how you have to get involved, how you have to go to your guidance counselor, how when you have a problem you should go to your principal, how when you have an inquiry you should go to your teacher. Because what happened to me was not unique. I graduated from Ferris High School this year, 2001, 30 years ago. I graduated from this, on that stage, sitting in those seats, 1971, and that was 30 years ago. And at that time, I didn't have, in my junior year, I was not going to go to college. And in my heart, I wanted to go to college. But you know what? Like Sonia, I didn't have those credits to go. I did not take CP courses, which are college preparatory courses. They put me in general. And what I did for the first couple of years as a freshman, as a sophomore, and starting as a junior, was cooking and sewing and doing other things because they felt that I was not college material. But I can't blame all of that on the guidance counselors, I can't blame it on the principal, and I can't blame it on the teachers. A lot of it had to do with me, and a lot of it had to do with my home, but unfortunately, since my mother did not speak the language, since my mother could not come to the teacher-parent meetings, we were not aware of what I needed to go to college. But I have to say, thanks to Ferris High School, thanks to the memory of Dr. Finn, who when I said I want to go to college, and I sat in the principal's office and I cried because my brother came in here and says, what do you mean my sister can't go to college? Well, she doesn't have what it takes to go to college. Dr. Finn said, Nydia, do you really want to go to college? Yes, I do, I said. She said, well, this is what you have to do. I had to go to summer school in my junior year. I had to take biology and chemistry in my senior year. I had to make up those courses that I should have been taking during my freshman year. And that is my advice to you today. Don't let anyone tell you that you're not college material, because you are. But know what? Not everyone has to go to college. In the county, as a freeholder, we have the Hudson County Community College. And there are different trades that people can do. As a freeholder also, we have high-tech, a vocational school, where you can also get a vocation, as Sonia mentioned before, whether it's hairdressing, whether it's a mechanic. There are other things that we can do in life that do not require a 4-year college. But I too come from a humble home, from a poor family, from a mother who had to struggle to bring up her 2 children. And I want you to know that it's never too late to go to college, because finally at the age of 50, my brother went back to school and at the age of 50 got his college degree. And the best example that I can give you today is that I have a 15-year-old son. He goes to high tech, and I tell him every day, life is not easy because your mother is a freeholder, and I'm going to leave pamphlets so that you know what a freeholder is, because we don't have the time. And what a freeholder does, and it's basically like the president and the Senate and Congress, like the governor, the assembly, and the Senate, like the mayor and council. That's exactly what a freeholder does. It's a legislator. But you someday can be what I am today, because I am 47 years old. I've been a freeholder for 17 years. I don't know how much longer I will be a freeholder, but hopefully one day, one of you can be on the school board, one of you can be a council member, one of you can be a freeholder, a doctor, a lawyer, whatever you want to do in life. But you know what? It's a saying in Spanish, querer es poder. Y cuando uno quiere, se puede. Se puede o no se puede. I wish you the best of luck. It is an enormous pleasure for me to be here today. I'd like to thank the principal and thank Johnny for inviting me here today. Because this was the beginning of my career. Thank you and God bless.
Just a second, the bell hasn't rung yet. Just a second, sit down just a minute, please. All right. I would like to thank very much our guests, because they have been very inspirational. They have talked to you from their hearts. And so that you know, when I came to this country and I went to junior high school, I was told that I could not go to college, and that I would better be off going to beautician school. Now you can see that I can't even do my own hair, so I don't know where they got off thinking that I could be a beautician, but don't believe everything that you're told, believe what your heart tells you. You have been a wonderful audience, and I want to thank all of you.
Because the 3 speakers were very
Mira para acá, el torre.